Hello, my little ninjas. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News, and welcome to your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Moxie, and tonight I have so many videos. Look at all these videos I have for you tonight. I have some good ones, I think. I'm not sure, but I think there's some good ones. Vaccine fertility in males. I have a story about that. When I came home yesterday from my dog walk, this was on my door. It's a door hanger, right? This is on my door. It says Oil Day, and I was like, Oil Day? Fuck yeah! But I don't go to that store, and I don't buy oil at the store. I make my own. Just like this. See? That way I know what it's made out of. And this is made out of really good stuff. And I'm about ready for a bong hit because I've been waiting. I don't think I had a bong hit today. Pretty sure. Which is fine. I mean, I wake up and I have a brownie. That works for me just fine. But 710... if you flip it backwards and upside down, which is the way I like my women, it spells the word oil. At least it kind of looks like the word oil. So, so it's another day claimed by stoners. Fuck yeah! We need about 27 more, and then we can compete with other people who get a full month. How come stoners don't get a full month of celebration? We've been through hell. We've been persecuted forever. Don't you know? How come Native Americans don't get a month? I guess they do. But we don't hear about it, do we? So this store is right around the corner from my house. And I never go there. But I've been going to the same store since way before, years before recreational became legal. So, because I have been a 19-year card-carrying cannabis medical patient, thank you very much, and I have always really been happy that I could get the medical recommendation from a doctor, because back in the day, before it became recreational legal, it was this protection thing. Even now, I can grow plants in my backyard, and if anybody gives me a hard time, I just go, look, I'm medical, and not only that, my doctor has given me the recommendation to grow up to 15 plants. So I got that going for me, which is nice. Now if I can just grow some pretty flowers, I am so bad at growing pretty flowers. One of these days I'm going to get it right. One of the plants looks, well, I think they all potentially have some pretty flowers, except for maybe one or two. But one of them looks so juicy. I'm going to have to get her out here. It's my lemon pie. My little lemon pie. So it being 7:10, I don't know if any of you are ready for a bong hit. I'm very, very close to being ready for a bong hit. In fact, I was ready for a bong hit about a half an hour ago. I was like, no, just wait. No, just wait. So that's how much you all mean to me. It's like you're my girlfriend, and I don't want to do a bong hit until you get home, because I know you're going to want one, and I want to do one with you, because that's what good boyfriends do. Oh man, what a deal breaker too. If I was to have a girlfriend, which doesn't sound all that great, but I'll tell you, if she was not a stoner, it's not enough to be herb friendly, right? You have to love cannabis. If you love cannabis, I'm the guy for you. And it's easy to love. You don't have to smoke cannabis to love it. You don't have to eat cannabis to love it. You just have to recognize what an amazing renewable resource that it actually is for humans, for the world. And if you realize that, then there's no way you can't love cannabis. So, you know, I would love to meet a girl. Herb friendly's not enough. Gotta love cannabis, so. And kind of love to meet a girl. So complicated when you have a girl or a guy or whatever. You know, when you have a partner. It's just so complicated. Oh my God. All you want is to be happy and enjoy beautiful, peaceful moments with the person who you're with. And from my experience, that doesn't happen. Unless you count having a knife held to your throat as a memorable moment, which is definitely memorable, but not happy, peaceful moment. Happy, enjoyable moment. It was not. But I survived. I am so ready. I can't find any tank. I can't find any gas for my torch. I've looked around, and there's no gas. I have about a half a bottle left. I'm like, oh, I better get a bottle or two of gas. Can't find it anywhere, which is very frustrating. I'm like, oh man, I can't run out of gas. Of course, they have the gas down at the Home Depot that costs 4 times as much as this one. I guess I can go back to smoking flowers. I know, I gotta get an electric nail. That's what I gotta do. That's gonna be the focus of this weekend. I'm gonna get me an electric nail sponsor. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. And it'll be our first official sponsor for our live shows. We have a couple unofficial sponsors. I thought there was something around here. I thought I saw something. Is it over here? Aha! Right. So it's Dabs for Donations Friday, which means anyone who gives a donation, I will take a dab in your honor. If we get to $50 in donations, we will give away the lovely Subway gift card to the 5th caller. So if you want to make a donation, there are clickable links in the text body of the video, or you can go to moxnews.com, or I will put some links in the chat momentarily. Almost ready. Almost ready. See, if I had an electric nail, it'd just be the right temperature all the time. Wouldn't that be awesome? I think that would be awesome. I might even have to get a different bong. They have some really pretty ones on this one site that's making these electric nails. We'll see what we can make happen. All right, you ready? Here we go. That was lovely. Oh, yes. And that bong hit was for Michelle. Our wonderful Michelle. Because she gives a donation every month. And she can't even show up to watch the shows. She's too busy working. That girl works 7 days a week. And she's so nice as to give a little something to make sure the show sticks around until she can get back to watching it. Thank you so much, Michelle. You are a wonderful, wonderful lady. or at least super, super generous. There's no doubt about that. So it is Dabs for Donations Friday. If you'd like me to do a dab in your honor, there are clickable links in the text body of this video, or you can go to moxnews.com, or I am currently putting links in the chat. So, where were we? Oh, right. Hunter Biden. What a scumbag Hunter Biden is, right? This guy is fucking con artist from day one. And somehow the fucking Facebook, the Twitter, they ban like any fucking evidence of people saying, this guy is a fucking douchebag from day one. Here's the evidence that he's a fucking douchebag, and Twitter goes, oh yeah, you can't do that. During a fucking election, during a presidential election, the presidential candidate, Joe Biden's son, is doing, ethically wrong bullshit, and you're not allowed to talk about it. If you don't think that is Facebook interfering with our election, they go, oh, Russia's interfering with our elections. Facebook is interfering with our elections, okay? So that makes them a threat to all of us, doesn't it? Which again, Facebook is crap. Facebook is spying on all of you. Facebook is selling all of your information. Facebook is censoring half of the people on there. Facebook is Nazis. They're just Nazis. They don't believe in freedom at all. And again, I've said this again and again. There's a million people on bazillion. There's a bazillion people on Facebook. There's a bazillion people on Twitter. There's a bazillion people on YouTube. Okay? Let the people decide who they want to listen to and who they want to cancel. Okay? Because if you leave it up to douchebags like Google, they'll only allow you to see videos in which they make money. If you don't make them money, they're not going to make sure your videos are anybody can find them, because they're scumbags. And all that matters on this planet anymore is money, and who has the most money. And by the way, we have a video about Richard Branson blasting off into space on Sunday, 9 days ahead of Jeff Bezos, taking tourists. Richard Branson is taking civilians into space on Sunday. What could possibly go wrong? So that should be interesting. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me okay? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? What's an alleged rumor? That Hunter is a fucking cunt? That is not an alleged rumor that Hunter is a fucking cunt. It's fucking fact. Anybody can look at him and tell just from looking at him. He's a fucking slimy cunt. I don't mean cunt in the good way. He's a fucking cunt from hell. I know that road. What are you talking about here? So, I don't know. Do you have plans for the weekend? Are you going to be celebrating 710 Day? Are you going to be enjoying Happy Oil Day? I'm just wondering. I celebrate every day. It's something that I really don't understand, is why life isn't a constant celebration. All this bullshit of pain and despair, it doesn't have to be that way. It's programmed. They want it that way. Overworked, stressed out. We should just be celebrating every day. Celebrate life, dance, share, enjoy. That's what it means to be tippy top of the food chain. That's what it means. Just to cruise along and enjoy what there is to enjoy. And and for some reason, you know, well, not for some reason, because of the programming, we don't get to do that. We don't get to have, well, some of us get to have semi reasonably peaceful, enjoyable lives, I guess. I would think. Um, I'm not sure, but I would think that that was true. I know I have a very simple life, and I love it. I love it. I really wouldn't trade it. I certainly wouldn't trade it in order to jump through hoops like a fucking trained rabbit or something, you know. So again, that has to do with enjoying what there is to enjoy, and from my understanding is that part of the contract when you come to this planet is part of the deal is there's always going to be something in front of you, right in front of you to enjoy. So, but the problem is you have to be in the moment to see that and enjoy it. If you're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, it's going to be 10 times harder to enjoy what's right in front of you, and you might not even see it. So, but this is just things that I've learned along the way, and seem to be really of value to my everyday world, because it's 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 tough enough already, and if you can find something to enjoy here and there, right in front of you, it'll make it a little bit easier. Which, again, I don't think it's meant to be tough. I think it's meant to be a party. I think we come here to have a party. And the people that are in charge have screwed it all up. And the people that are in charge don't want it to be a party. They want it to be, you work for us. You do what we tell you. You jump. If we tell you jump through this hoop, you don't ask questions. You jump through that hoop. Right? Isn't that the way our society looks right now? Right? So I don't see that as that the way that the world is supposed to be. It's certainly not human society. We're just completely misled, and the pillars of our community are just completely full of shit, and there's very little hope for the future. I don't know. I don't see hope for the future. I'm not worried about it. I'm not long for this world. I would really like to leave something good for the people that are coming behind us. But I don't have any people. So it's not that big a deal to me. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not like somehow it's going to benefit me and mine. It's just doing the right thing. I like doing good things. So one of these days, maybe I don't see it that way. I don't see it as one of these days this government's going to turn around. I don't. I want to smash this government to the ground. I want to burn whatever's underneath it. Kill it with fire. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I am good. Is Dave?
Yeah, this is Dave from New York. Yeah, I'm very excited.
I heard there was
walked outside.
I heard there was a lot of rain there.
Yeah, I walked outside with weed for the first time today.
That's awesome. Dude.
It's really a weird thing. I'm a rebel. I approach authority. I'm not scared of those people. I never do that. But there was still a thing. There is a mental thing where it's like, look, if I just walk out to the road with a bag of weed, smoking a pipe and saying, just blowing smoke, just, standing there and being obvious about smoking my weed in the public, there's a little thing. There's a little thing in the back of your mind that says, oh my God, I'm doing something bad. And it really is. And even if you're like the most rebel fucking fucktwad of the entire system, you still have that feeling after it's legal. It's an amazing thing. I have to say, I think that everybody that's ever faced law enforcement for marijuana has PTSD. And that's the first thing I thought about after I did it, because, I'm military, ex-military too, and I said, wow, that's more PTSD than anything I ever experienced in the military, actually. It's like, I feel like if I go out into public and I smoke weed, like, there's some untouchable primal fear in my system that is, I can't, even with every ounce of my strength, I can't eradicate it.
Well,
it actually
yeah.
felt like I can't do, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm being bad. I might be influencing humanity in a bad way, and it's like, it didn't stay long, but it is a thing. It's a thing.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the military, because I think, if you look at it logically, there's been a war on the people of this country, the drug war, for 50 years. So when you look at it from the perspective that, there's a war going on, and now you're the enemy, maybe there's a reason that, you carry that with you. Now, that being said, I forever have been walking around Seattle and just sitting outside baristas. I used to, when I first moved to Seattle, there was this restaurant right across the street from where I lived. It was called the 5 Point, right? And I would go there for whatever. They were open 24 hours, so I would go there regularly. And I would go in there and I would sit down, and the waiter would come over smoking a cigarette and ask me what I wanted, and I'd take a hit off my pipe. And put the pipe down on the counter, and the waiter would pick it up and take it off the pipe and say, "So what do you want, dude?" So I kind of have gotten over that. I remember I met this girl at this bar called the Alibi Room. It's right next to a police station. Nope, I was next door. And we were sitting at the bar, and I just got out of seeing a Ween concert, which is probably my favorite band I've ever seen in concert.
Push the daisies and make them grow
Yeah,
up.
fucking A, man. Although I haven't seen them play that, I'm pretty sure. I've seen them 4 times, so. So we were sitting at the bar, and this girl walks up and she says, "You got a cigarette, sugar ass?" And I said, "No, but I have this." And she took the pipe and she started puffing on it, and the waiter comes over, the bartender comes over and says, "What can I get you?" And she blows a puff of smoke right in his face and says, "I'm good."
Oh, good.
So I kind of got over it, a long time ago, or at least I don't really. I know what you're saying. I mean, I have 20 plants out in the backyard, and some cop could come along and give me a hard time, but I don't know. It's not very likely, because it's going to be a bigger problem for him than it is going to be for me.
Yeah. I definitely feel that too. However, measuring the personality and the mindset of American police, or not American police, New York State Police and New York sheriffs and all these different people, it's pretty mixed. I think there is about half of them that are really happy that weed is out of the mix. There's another half that are, they're fucking furious. They're Trumpers. They've got their, mindset against weed, and might be religious. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Look, Right in the beginning of the Bible, it says, I give unto thee all seed-bearing plants to use as meat, okay? So they might want to pretend that they're religious, but if they don't get that shit, then they're not religious, okay? I mean, right at the beginning of the Bible, come on. Now, and the other thing is that it's not a matter of they're Trumpers or whatever. They're police state motherfuckers. They want the fucking boot of the police state on everybody's neck. So that's what it is.
Well, yes, but here, the guys that want to break your head and throw you in jail for a joint are definitely pretty vocal about where they stand politically. It's been an interesting time because I've never seen that before. I had tons of friends. They never talked about politics. They never talked about it. And then suddenly they were furious about certain things. And it was like, wait a minute. I've never even seen you mad in your life. And I've never seen you talk politics. And suddenly you're furious about these politics. It's like, dude, this shit is good. This is all surface stuff. It doesn't even matter. We've been doing what we do for our entire lives. It never came into focus until I don't know, information, like whatever. I don't know what it was. It's still a mystery. I'm still working on it. It's not an easy thing to pin down, but there was a huge part of people up here where I am, and I can't speak for everybody else. I like to call you and report for what I see around me. I try to do it accurately. And the people here, there was a bunch of them that would never, they don't go into politics. Oh, fuck politics, blah, blah, blah. And they're right. But then all of a sudden they got mad. And that's when it did get a different thing. They're mad. It wasn't just that they were suddenly paying attention to certain issues or anything like that. It's just that suddenly they're mad against, really angry against whatever, anything that came across their message boards. I don't know, but it was bizarre, and I've been dealing with that the whole time. That's what I deal with most of my friends. Like, most of my friends are, and their families are not. They don't do the things that I do. They don't move around the country like I do. They don't examine things the way I do. They don't get into well, I wouldn't call it subterfuge, but I do like to just go and join places. Like, I like to go and join things and just say, hey, I'm here. I want to, hey, what do you got to offer? I like to see that. I do that all the time. I always have. I've done it for 40 years. It doesn't, every place is the same. People are the same everywhere you go. But sometimes when you run into a mad bunch of people and they're angry, it's like, whoa, what made these guys angry? They weren't pissed about this shit 5 years ago, That kind of twisted my noodle a little bit. And I'm still working on that one because I don't know what happened there, but they definitely got angry. It was suddenly something.
It's programming, dude. That's what they want. They want anger. Anger is also an expression of fear. So, the last 18 months or so, the fear has been ratcheted up into overdrive. So.
Yeah, murder hornets.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually have dudes, swear to God, dude. It makes me laugh every time because the first time you started talking about murder hornets, I said, oh my God, is he ever right? Watch where this goes. And sure enough, over the last 2 years, I've had people come to me and said, hey man, I found this huge bug, and I was like, is it orange and black? Is it really big? Does it look nasty? And they're like, yeah. Meanwhile, we've had like different kinds of hornets up here. I mean, I've dealt with them my whole life. I've been in the construction trades. If you go up in the roof, you might have. I've locked the roof with 5,000 hornets around me. They didn't bother me if you're just cool and you don't You're not attacking them. They think you're building stuff, and they try to help you actually. But I never, murder hornets is just that's a freaky label. It's like, where did you get that one? Like murder hornets,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, they're calling
Like,
them. They're calling them killer murder hornets now.
Well, I mean, you know what I compare them to? Here's what I compare a murder hornet to: a praying mantis. Hey, praying mantises, those are wonderful. They're praying. They're wonderful. No, they're not. They kill the murder hornet. Who kills the murder hornets? Praying mantis. Praying mantis will kill anything, man. They're fucking ruthless. They'll grab something and chew on its throat until it's dead.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll eat some of it, probably just the juicy parts, and then leave. It's like, they're ruthless, like a
Yeah.
freaking hungry lion. Murder hornets are not doing that. They're not even, or whatever, hornets. Hornets just protect their stuff.
Yeah, it's
They
like
don't-
you said. It's like you said. They're not going to pay attention if you're not fucking with them. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But a praying mantis might look at a person and go, I don't know. I see their throat. I don't know. Can I chew through that? I might be able to kill them. A praying mantis is going to look at you with a napkin, folded around its neck and a fork in its hand, whereas a murder hornet or any hornet probably isn't looking at you in that way at all. It's like, are you helping or are you here to kill us? That's all they want to know. The praying mantis, they're looking at you like you might be a plate of food. And that's the way I see it.
well, yeah, I think praying mantises are possibly higher on the evolutionary scale than humans. So we'll find out one of these days.
I actually might agree with you. That's a very interesting point. There's been a lot of discussion. A lot of people that know things, like they look at scientists who are wondrous at, oh my God, look at this. These fish seem to be emotionally responding, or hey, this animal might have the capacity to, and it's like, you idiot. Maybe, just maybe, the only reason we need a larger brain is because we've disconnected from the ether, or whatever you want to call it, the source, right? The field of consciousness. Praying mantises and owls and these types of animals, I definitely see them as way more connected than we are. In fact, that's why the owl is considered a wise source to go and consult with.
The owls see everything. The owls see everything.
That's right. They can see in the dark, which means they see spirit. They can see everything. They see whatever's interacting in the field of consciousness. Yeah, the owls definitely see that. And that's why they show up right before death, because they say, yeah. And they know it's not that they're doing it. Like a lot of people will say, oh my God, the owls, they must be evil. It's like, no, they just know, like bowflies. Bowflies are an actual thing that can be used in the court of law to determine the time of death. That's predictability, my friend. We can't predict that shit, so what are we missing? People are not as sentient as they think they are. I don't even think we're a sentient
Well,
species, frankly.
it's a matter of programming. Any sentientness that was there to start with is being deprogrammed almost from the minute of birth. So, I gotta take a break, Dave. Okay, it's good to hear from you. I'll talk to you soon, I hope. Have a great weekend.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, so that's Dave from New York. Oh, I was going to ask him about the rain. Dang. I said something about it, but I didn't get a response. So I had seen some video of nasty rain in New York. I am going to go heat up my tea. I need to heat up my tea. I like my tea warm. So I'm going to go heat it up, and I'll play this video about space tourism. We were talking about that a minute ago. So I'll play that for you now. And I'll be right back. It's just a couple minutes long.
Billionaire Richard Branson preparing for takeoff aboard his Virgin Galactic rocket plane, the VSS Unity, coming up on Sunday. Let's check in now. From New Mexico is News Nation's Marky Martin with more on what's ahead for Branson and his crew on Sunday. Hi, Marky.
Not too far from where this weekend launch will be taking place, but this is the billionaire space race that everybody has been talking about for years, right? Who's going to make it there first? Will it be Richard Branson? Will it be Jeff Bezos? Would it be or Elon Musk? And if everything goes according to plan this weekend, it will be Sir Richard Branson. Now, he'll be taking his very own rocket aboard Virgin Galactic this Sunday morning out of New Mexico desert. And get this, the flight isn't that long. The entire experience is only about 10 minutes with 3 minutes of weightlessness. And he posted an epic video to his Twitter feed, and I want to play part of it for you here.
Astronaut 001, Richard Branson. I'll be evaluating the customer spaceflight experience. I've always been a dreamer. My mum taught me to never give up and to reach for the stars. This July, our dream will become a reality.
Yeah, he just exudes enthusiasm. You can feel it. But if you remember, this journey does not come without competition. Earlier this summer, former Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos announcing that he would be launching himself into space on July 20th. And reportedly, when he made that announcement, Branson expedited his journey. And we do know that Bezos is taking not only his brother, this is my favorite part, 82-year-old pilot Wally Funk. And she was one of the original Mercury 13, the women who trained to become astronauts in the 60s but never made it to space. You have to listen to her learning for the first time that she'd be joining.
We're going to fly you up into space on the very first flight. That's your
I can't tell people that are watching how fabulous I feel to have been picked by Blue Origin to go on this trip.
You're going to be an astronaut.
Oh, finally!
Yeah, you just can't help but love her. It's steep competition, Joe, but it does seem to all be in good fun. And it also signifies something big, and that's the start of space exploration and space tourism. Right. And lastly, Branson, in that Twitter video, said that upon his return to Earth on Sunday morning, he'd be making a major announcement for anybody who has ever dreamt of becoming an astronaut themselves. And, Joe, we will be here throughout the weekend to see what that is.
Half off discount, maybe, perhaps. What time is that? Is the flight on Sunday, Marky?
We're going early Sunday morning. We're told to be there from 6 a.m. to 9, so somewhere in that window. Okay. And it'll be live streamed for the world to watch as well, Joe. We'll bring that to you here.
A lot will. Marky Martin, thank you very much for the update. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Joining me now, Jose Hernandez, an astronaut who's actually been to outer space. Not a typical mission coming up here on Sunday, in your world anyway. Are you looking forward to watching this?
Oh, I am, Joe. I mean, this is the culmination of keeping up with the Joneses in space as both billionaires take their pet space projects on a test flight. And so it's just amazing watching them, one trying to outdo the other. You know, one of them is going up 55 miles up, and the carbon line 62 miles. Mm-hmm. So the other one is saying, well, he may be the first, but he's not really going into space because you got to go 62 miles and higher. But according to NASA, that's close enough, and they'll be considered astronauts if they do go up.
Right. We do want to share the video that we've been watching of this mission that's coming up on Sunday, and I'd like to have you explain the difference with these two. You kind of touched on it there, but with Branson's, it's kind of a mothership that actually carries the plane up and then drops it as you see it here. Explain this.
That's correct. The White Knight 2 goes to an altitude of 45,000 feet and then releases the VSS Unity. Rockets come on, and then it blasts off into up 55 miles. It's a total trip of 14 to 17 minutes, which is longer than the Blue Origin flight, which is a traditional rocket with capsule. Right. The capsule lands on the ground, and that one only lasts about 11 minutes from launch to landing.
What's the payoff for this, Jose? Is this more, in your opinion, about billionaires racing to get into space?
Well, it's a little of that, Joe. It's a little bit of the ego for them, but it's also, they're both tied to NASA and depend on contracts to keep those companies going. I have a hard time believing that tourism will be a sustainable industry to keep space flight for them to make it profitable. I kind of think that the Blue Origin architecture with a rocket and capsule is going to be a dual use to go to the International Space Station and maybe to Mars on contracts with NASA. And the other one, which is a space plane, I think that they're developing for intercontinental travel, where a wealthy businessman can be from New York to Singapore in an hour as opposed to a 14-hour flight.
Hey, before we let you go quickly, Jose, I saw your flight suit hanging behind you there. You were on board the space shuttle in 2008. Just quickly give us the most memorable part of that trip for you. You were in space for 14 days.
Yes, I was up there in 2009, STS-128 aboard Space Shuttle Discovery. I was a flight engineer, and we were the second to last mission to finish construction of the International Space Station. But more importantly, the best feeling is basically when you first see Earth from your perspective. You unbuckle your seatbelt, do your best Superman impersonation, and you look at that beautiful world out there and how fragile it looks, because you're able to look at the atmosphere and it's scary thin. And so I became an instant environmentalist when I saw how thin and how delicately balanced our environment ecosystem is from space.
Man, that's just a fantastic picture you painted. Jose Hernandez, astronaut on the space shuttle. Hey, it's great to chat with you, and we appreciate your time tonight. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll look forward to watching the flight on Sunday.
I'll have popcorn. I'll be watching it. So it's really great.
All right, take care.
Space station after space talk seems appropriate. I'm going to have another dab because it's National Dab Day tomorrow, but you all won't be here tomorrow. I won't be here tomorrow. You all might. So I thought we'd enjoy it today together, National Dab Day, or 7/10, or Oil Day, which is tomorrow. But I'm not going to wait. It's Dabs for Donations Friday, but I'm not going to wait until somebody gives a donation on Happy Oil Day to give take a dab, because I don't have to. But if you do give a donation, I will be most happy to do a dab in your honor on National Dab Day. Doesn't that sound like fun? There's clickable links in the text body of this video or in the chat. Or you can go to moxnews.com. Should take less than 2 minutes to give something back to Mox News, because we do this every Monday through Friday. And it takes hours of preparation, people. I don't just, so many people, they just go like live. And we're like, oh, yeah. Look what it says in the chat. Yeah. Like, oh, here, watch me do this thing. Watch me eat these food. I actually come prepared, people. All right, you ready? Happy 7/10, happy Oil Day, happy National Dabs Day tomorrow. Hope you all enjoy it. That was nice. I love sharing. I'm so glad to come out here and share with you all. So, this is where we're at, people. I came to take fat dabs, talk with phone callers, and play topical videos and quite possibly have a discussion about those topical videos, or National Dabs Day, or Oil Day, however you like to look at it, 710, or whatever you'd like to talk about. I'm down. So another story about weed in Seattle. So I was telling about the story at the one of my girlfriends, and she was like taking a hit at the bar. And I was telling them about, I was telling you all about this restaurant I used to go to, and I'd go down and sit at the counter and take a puff, and the waiter would come over and take a puff. Always loved that. And one time I was walking down the street in downtown Seattle, puffing a big fat fucking joint, and I got to the street light and it said wait, so I waited, and a cop car pulls up and the cop rolls down the window and he says, "Is that good weed, Mike?" And I said, "Dude, it's Seattle, it's all good weed here." And he laughed, and we drove away. So I don't have a whole lot of paranoia about smoking weed in public anymore. But possibly at one time I did. When I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, must have had like paranoia about smoking weed sometime, somewhere. I know that there's been times when I've gone to concerts in the past, and you're like worried that they're gonna find your weed before you go in, and then you go in, and you're like making sure nobody's looking, and you light a pipe or you light your joint. I haven't done that for a while. You know, the clandestine thing. But it's just, you know, we went to a show not last weekend, but the weekend before. I was talking about it was the first music that I've gone to see in some time. First live music, and the bouncer at the front door, giant guy, he's sucking on a vape, and if you look at it, you can tell that it's some kind of hash oil. It definitely wasn't no, you know, nicotine garbage. So it's everywhere all the time, and I think people are getting over it, you know. The derogatory bullshit, and I hope that they are, because, you know, I see this stuff when they talk about cannabis, and I see them still being very derogatory about it, kind of like, oh, this evil weed that, you know, only worthless people use. It's fucking not nice. And you would think that, like in the local news, you would think that they would realize that the voters of this state said, hey, we want cannabis legal, and that's where the mindset of the people are, and instead of acting like fucking propagandists for the drug war and reefer madness, you know, spreading their reaper madness propaganda, saying, oh, you know, if you do this, although I've seen a couple good stories in local news about anxiety and depression, all kinds of stuff like that. So, because it's very beneficial for those things.
Call.
Hello, caller.
Marijuana's a gateway drug, Mike.
Gateway off all the other drugs.
I've been smoking marijuana my whole life, and I know that it made me psychotic my whole life because I was smoking marijuana. It's like,
I think it's the only thing that has kept you from acting out your psychoticness.
Yeah, every time I have an urge to chop somebody up with a machete, I just take a big hit, and then I talk to God and little bunny rabbits, and I'm okay again. And
I think you're better off talking to the bunny rabbits than God.
Yeah, well, they translate for me. I said, what did he say? He said, "Whoop." Yeah, oh, okay. So, I think I'll tell you something personal about myself.
Okay. Not too personal.
That my older sister, for real, think that I'm psychotic because I smoke marijuana and I talk about crazy shit. Not much, but a little bit. And I swear to God, I think that is her. She's so straight. I think that's her hidden thought pattern that she can't stick to. She literally told my other sister that I was crazy. So it's not too hidden, but
Look, I don't think that's unusual in families, you know. I mean, you know, I walk around everywhere going crazy, 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 you know. So it's not like it's unusual thing for a family member to talk about another family member behind their back.
They don't smoke marijuana, and I do. So that's the thing. It's like, oh, he smokes marijuana. Plus, he plays music, and he has a funny house. And he wears weird clothes. He's psychotic, but don't tell anybody. Just us. You know, it's like, they're so fucking... It's like they would be perfectly fine in the 16th century burning witches at the stake because they're consorting with the devil. And what you just said about, I think it's pretty much cool with everybody now. It's really not. There's so many square, backwards, devolved people on the planet that still think hippies and marijuana are products of the devil, and America is great, and salute the flag. I mean, they're still out there, Mike. I think some of these southern states still have people in jail from 35, 40 years ago for smoking marijuana.
I don't think that's a matter of whether the people are good with it or not. I think that's a matter of the police state and the fucked up laws the police state have. So...
Yeah, well, maybe it's my prejudice. I've never been to Louisiana, I've never been to Florida, I've never been to Texas,
Man,
never been to Alabama.
Biggest
So
cockroach,
I don't know what the people are like.
biggest cockroach I ever seen was in Louisiana, dude. In New Orleans, I'm telling you, I was staying in this hotel, and I was kicking back on the bed watching television, and I looked up on the wall behind me, there was like a maybe 8-inch long cockroach, and I was like, holy fuck. And it's like looking down, I'm eating a bag of Cheetos, right, and it's like looking down on me, like I'm thinking this thing's gonna jump down and go for my jugular, you know. And then I realized it wanted the Cheetos, so I like held the bag of Cheetos up, and it dove right into the fucking bag of Cheetos, and I just folded the bag up and took it outside and dropped it in the fucking dumpster.
You didn't squish it first?
No, fuck no.
Oh, man. Nothing better than squish cockroach juice on your fucking Cheetos, dude. You never had it? Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that was some scary shit, dude. I'm telling you, that was like out of a fucking monster movie, man.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine a 6-inch long cockroach. It's like, what is it? Come out of Chernobyl cockroach or what? You know, but Steve told me he eats cockroaches all the time. He sticks them in the microwave until they start exploding, and then you eat them and they're all crunchy. Steve told me that.
Steve McClanahan?
Yeah, Steve fucking McClanahan.
Yeah, well, he
motherfucker McClanahan.
I wouldn't trust too much of what he says.
Oh, Steve wouldn't lie to us. He's always on the up and up. So, yeah, I don't know, man. You know, marijuana is just part of my life. It's not even unusual to me. It's like I give it away. I give it away to people every day, all the time. I give away the oil to people all the time. And it's just no different than growing tomatoes, except it's a little bit more, you know, it has a little bit more currency to it. You know, you give somebody a bag of weed and they're your friend. You know, you give somebody a tomato and they forgot about it in 24 hours. So, but I still see and I still am aware of that quotient of American citizenry that would consider a guy like you a complete fucking stoner and a guy like me a madman, you know. Like, what the fuck? piss me off, and I am a madman. So, but
I could care less what people like that think.
Well, I've seen videos of you, and you're a little bit unusual looking dude. You cross between Thor and Santa Claus, or Odin and Santa Claus. So
the little kids, when we go out to restaurants, the little kids will they'll see me and they'll get like this weird look on their face, and they'll lean over to their mom or their dad and be like, like saying something, and then they'll look back at me and they'll start like fawning, like, yeah, I'm a good baby, huh, Santa? It's weird, dude.
No shit. Yeah, it's so weird the way that we judge each other on the way we look, and a lot of times we're afraid to get to know each other. I just met some really cool people that are kind of far out and freaky, but they're cooler than shit, man. They hang out down at Venice Beach. One guy runs Venice Beach bike tours, and he told me all the time I lived in LA, I never once ever stepped on Venice Beach. So I don't know shit about it, but apparently it's a world famous beach with basketball courts and lots of history, and
a lot of movies and TV stuff have been shot down there too.
Say that again, Mike?
A lot of movies and TV shows have been filmed down in Venice Beach.
Yeah, it's kind of like a world famous landmark. They have my buddy here that I just rented a room to. He runs tours. He lives way up here where I live. He gets a call and he runs a tour anywhere between 2 or 3 people and 30 people running and he knows the whole history of Venice. It was actually modeled after the Venice in Italy, an exact copy of all the canals and everything. And one guy owned it. So there's a big history that I never knew, and it's actually part of LA city. So it's not like Venice is its own city. It is a subsection of LA. So yeah, man. And so I'm meeting really cool people, and I'm remembering, fuck, I used to be this really social, far out guy that knew all kinds of people, and to me, I don't care what you look like, if you got funny clothes or a beard or, I'm not going to judge you. I'd rather get to know the person first. But when a really straight person meets a person with a tie-dye shirt and a nose ring and, funny sense of humor, it's like, they get a little taken back. It's like, I think people ought to lighten up and not judge each other so much. And that's one of the benefits of marijuana, is that you end up not being so judgmental for some reason.
It's an empathy. It's an empathy thing.
Yeah. I think it has to do with the psychological barrier you break through, your own personal paranoia. We all had to do it at one time. And I got another dude downstairs. He won't smoke marijuana because he said, it makes me paranoid. And of course, we know what that is. That's a lack of ability to break through your own psychological barrier. You're kind of forced to do that with marijuana. If you're not comfortable with yourself, the marijuana will force you to confront that.
It does a number of things, like especially when you first start taking it. It will make you paranoid. It will make you paranoid like crazy the first few times, and you know what else it will do? It will point out the fact that you are extremely dehydrated and you need to start drinking more water. It does a lot of things. So
I couldn't tell you how conscious of a plant it is. And I'm not quite sure why, to the American Indian, indigenous Indian population, tobacco is such a sacred plant. I don't really know why that is. But marijuana seems to be a very conscious plant, whether you're smoking it or just walking around in it. It's very conscious, you know. So I dig it as a plant. You know, it's wonderful. You know, you could go up to a bunch of roses and appreciate them and smell them, but you're not getting a subtle psychological vibe off it like you do when you're walking through a giant garden of marijuana. It's like you're in a totally different headspace when you're walking through marijuana than you are in a rose garden.
I don't know that that's true, but I understand what you're saying. It depends on how much weed you're smoking, I suppose, where your head is to start with, because I've seen poppies sing. I couldn't hear him sing, but I could see him singing. So, you know.
What kind of poppies?
California, like orange poppies.
Oh. Well, you know, every plant is different. For me, I love pine trees. I love the smell of pine trees. I love to be in a pine forest. That is killer to me. But since I'm just a little tiny gardener that doesn't go nowhere, I got
your own forest.
I got my own little mini marijuana forest, and I noticed the vibe in it, you know. And maybe I'm imagining things, maybe because my plants end up being 8 to 10 foot tall, and so I'm literally walking way underneath them, you know. And I'm in the jungle, and I noticed the vibe, and it's a peaceful, kind of steady vibe, and it has nothing to do with smoking. It has to do with the plant itself. And I know guys that are so sensitive, they tell me, don't smoke cigarettes in the marijuana garden, you know, you're going to freak the plants out. Like, you know, they're going to know that you're going to chop them down and smoke them. And I haven't got to the state where I'm apologizing to my fucking plants as I harvest them, you know. It's like, for me, it's chop, chop, hang, hang. And I'm not talking to them anymore. But it sure is wonderful at a certain time, both before budding and during the major budding, that the vibe the garden gives off. It's like, it's a wonderful thing. But some of these people couldn't handle smoking because they've been hiding from their own souls their whole life. And I think that the ingesting the marijuana makes people confront the stuff they have to work on, because it alters your mind a little bit.
Well, it helps you to drop all these like roadblocks, you know, that you put up to keep you from having to examine stuff. You know,
so yeah, and I mean, you know, you're just about the only guy I talk about marijuana to, because it's so old to me that I don't even give a fuck. It's just part of my life, you know. But there is that other people that are gardeners can relate, you know, especially if you're walking through anywhere between 40 and 100 really tall plants.
I've only ever had one really tall plant.
And that was what, 6 foot?
No, it was like 10 or 11 feet.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Herrera.
Oh, Jack Herrera?
Yeah.
He designed something that was 10 or 12 feet?
I don't know. That's just the name of the strain. I don't know how much he was involved with it.
Huh. Well, if it has this name on it, he must be responsible for the genealogy, man. He was a breeder.
No, there's weed called Larry Bird. I don't think Larry Bird designed that weed.
Larry Bird, the basketball player?
Yeah, I don't know. There's weed called Larry Bird. So...
Because it's small.
I don't know. I'm just telling you. There's weed called Bruce Banner, who is the the Hulk's alter ego. So I mean, it's like, I don't think Bruce Banner had anything to do with designing that weed, but
okay,
but it describes the weed pretty well, because it's a big green monster, right?
Big green monster, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's like just, it's nothing. It's not like cooking meth in some fucking dungeon, some basement somewhere.
Who brought up that? No one brought up that. It's gross, man.
It's totally, it's like growing tomatoes or roses, basically, and people still get freaked out about it.
Except for you can smell it a lot further away than roses.
That's true. It does, during budding time, it does have a odoriferous quality. But, yeah, man, I walk into the grocery store sometimes when I've been trimming or harvesting, and I might have, like, leaves all over me, and I smell like pungent weed, and people give me weird looks. And
when don't they give you weird looks?
Yeah, well, they can smell it. That's the point, So, but I swear to God, there are some people that are so backwards and so 1940s or 50s that they just think that you and me are criminals and crazy, and we should be locked up, and we're psychotic. And that's just one example of how freaked out and fucked up the world is right now. They got people we got senators that wish it was the 1950s again, and
all of them want to hold. This is what I keep saying, is that they're trying to keep us in the 1950s. I've been saying this for 15 years. I keep talking about how they're keeping our species from evolving. This is what all the censorship is about. This is what, the drug war is about. It's about holding us down.
And that little orange-haired track runner girl, whatever her name is, God bless her for smoking weed and being cool and honest and upright about it, because there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Michael Phelps got busted for that too.
Who?
Michael Phelps.
What did he do?
He won more gold medals for swimming than any other swimmer in the history of the Olympics.
Yeah, and that was in the 70s, right?
No, it was. I'm pretty sure he's competing this year. It's been in the last 15 years or so he's been competing. He won like 8 or 9 gold medals in one Olympics, and they put him on the Wheaties box, and then somebody took a picture of him with a bong and posted it on Facebook, and he got his face kicked off the Wheaties box. You don't know any of this shit?
I vaguely remember that, yeah. Yeah, but I don't follow sports,
Olympics isn't really sports.
But I think that black chick with the orange hair is psychologically normal, perfectly marvelous, like a really extraordinary woman, and she's totally correct, and she shouldn't even apologize for smoking weed because her dad died or something. It's like, don't apologize. Like, I smoke weed. If you don't want me to compete, that's because you're a moron, Olympic Committee. That's what I would have said.
Look,
you're a
dude,
moron.
I get...
Obviously, it's not according to your own stupid rules, it's not a performance-enhancing substance. So what's the big deal?
Yeah, I've already told you what the big deal is, but I also told you that I guarantee you, even though she did whatever, bowed out, gracefully, I guarantee you she told those people, I am the fastest woman on the planet. If that is not good enough for you, suck my motherfucking dick. And I already told you this. I guarantee you she said that. Because she is the fastest woman on the planet, and she should be able to say that to their face. Especially since the Tokyo Olympics aren't saying that cannabis is no longer a drug, that they're banning, a substance that they're banning. So she could go by the Olympic rules, she could go. But the reason that they're not letting her, the reason she got kicked off the U.S. team is because it's not just her being the fastest woman on the planet. That's not good enough. We want our athletes to portray a certain image, and cannabis is not part of that image.
Well, that sucks, because cannabis it's just a normal part of everyday life, like cooking
It
eggs
should
in the
be.
morning.
It should be.
Yeah, and I like that chick. I mean, she's good looking, she's muscular. If she is the fastest chick on the planet, good for her. And she's extraordinary enough and confident enough to make her hair orange and stand out like a fucking blinking sign that says, here I am, and that's cool. She's unafraid, and that is how humans should be. She's a good example of a human being. And I'm sorry her dad died, but she didn't do anything wrong. Not a fucking thing.
Not according to the Olympic Committee, she didn't do anything wrong. It's just the U.S. Again, the U.S. government is a piece of shit, and they don't appreciate anybody. She's the fastest woman on the planet, and they don't appreciate that enough. I mean, you don't just, decide that you're going to be the fastest woman on the planet. You fucking work your ass off to make something like that happen. So, and that's not good enough for them. So
yeah,
if I was her, I wouldn't even want to represent that, this country next time around.
Oh, me neither, man.
Yeah.
But Joe, our fearless leader, Lord Poopy Pants, he said, rules are the rules.
Yeah.
So fuck him too, man. So, all right, I don't have anything to say. My brain is completely empty.
It's because you're
I'll talk to you
psychotic.
later, man.
It's because you're a dope smoking psychotic.
Yeah, I'll try not to kill anybody as I smoke my weed. I don't want to break my pipe. Okay, I'll see you later, buddy.
All right, talk to you later. Okay, so I gotta play another video because nobody is donating, so there's no reason. I'm gonna play a video about the Haitian assassination. Haitian presidential assassination. That's almost poetic. Someone should make a rap song about that. Haitian presidential. I'm not very good at that sort of thing. Assassination. I'm horrible at that. I'll play that video for you now, and I'll be right back. Colombia wants to send assistance to Haiti. I think they want to send an investigative team, and the U.S. is sending investigators to find out to cover up what.
I wanted to take this call.
Hello?
Hey, Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine.
Good.
What's happening?
Very, very good. I'm just here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
That's what you do.
Yeah, and the hoodlums are either here to kick butt or chew some gum, and they're all out of gum.
Hoodlums?
Yeah.
Who are they?
And I had a footnote for Mike from SoCal. There was an article posted at a public radio station in Central California, KCBX, and there's going to be really hot temperatures again this week in California. They think they're going to break the all-time record at Yosemite, which is like at 110 degrees.
Wow.
And there's other records that are going to be broken in the Central Valley in California. And so this article was posted.
Have you ever been to Yosemite?
I've never been there, Mike. I'd love to go there, but if I went there, I would want to go there in probably the fall or the autumn time.
Yeah.
And probably during the middle of the week, to try and have the least amount of people as possible.
Yeah, I've been there many times. It's a great spot. If you get a chance, I would recommend. They got these.
The rocks.
Yeah.
The big rocks there are supposed to be just utterly gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the valleys. I've seen photos. It's a beautiful place. And someday, the other place I'd like to go to, which I will go to before I die, is I'd like to see the sequoias, like in Kings Canyon.
Yeah.
And in Sequoia National Park there. I'd like to see those. So maybe the next time I go to California in the next year or so, I'll try to coerce my brother to take me to go and see at least Kings Canyon and Sequoia and maybe Yosemite. I haven't seen those parks, but I know they're beautiful. But this article from this television station says, drought conditions bring more rattlesnakes into Central Coast backyards. And I know you talked about bears and wolves before and such, and this is what the article says. It says, the return of drought conditions across California has forced many animals to seek refuge to where humans live, closer to where humans live. Bears have been spotted recently in urban areas, and an even more dangerous predator, rattlesnakes, are moving closer to people's homes. There's been an uptick in calls from residents throughout the Central Coast reporting rattlesnakes slithering into people's yards. Emily Taylor from Central Coast Snake Services, and they provide services from Santa Cruz to LA, says that the snakes are going into people's yards because of water. Quote, they're moving into people's yards at higher rates than they normally are to try to drink from bird baths, leaky faucets, and pools, anything they can find. The Central Coast Snake Services is an organization that clears snakes from properties and public areas and relocates them. And as she says, if you encounter a rattlesnake anywhere on a trail or at home, you should just back away and give it space. Most often, people who end up getting bit by a rattlesnake are people who either try to kill it, like with a shovel, or they fuck with it with a stick, and then they end up getting bit by the snake. So if you see a rattlesnake, your best advice is just give it a little space, and then it'll go away. But these drought conditions are bringing snakes closer to people's homes, something that people in California should be aware of.
Yeah, my friend Sam just got back from California, and he was babysitting his sister's kids. Well, she had to go to England. So he was hanging out there, and she has a dog, and he would walk her dog, and in this kind of wilderness area that was close to the house, and there was signs up all over the place. He said, "Watch out for rattlesnakes." So.
Yeah, I've only hiked I've only really hiked in Washington and the Oregon, but along the Columbia River Gorge, there's hiking trails along the bluffs overlooking the river on the Washington side. And that's the only place I've really heard rattlesnakes, where you want to wear boots that are over your ankles, and you want to stick so that when you're walking, through the brush, whatever. There's things you can do to make yourself aware of rattlesnakes. The other day you mentioned Kristi Noem, this governor from South Dakota who apparently hates marijuana and isn't going to, has put up all these obstacles to people using marijuana in the state of South Dakota.
Well, the people voted there. The people voted there to legalize cannabis recreationally, and she refused to sign the the law or whatever.
Yeah. So there was an article, I saw it in USA Today, and also it was originally from a local paper, the Sioux Falls Argus Leader, which is a paper in South Dakota. And this article was posted on July 7th about Kristi Noem. Governor Kristi Noem is to send 125 more South Dakota National Guard members to the U.S.-Mexico border. And the article says, Governor Noem will be sending 125 additional members of the South Dakota National Guard to the southern border, according to a press release from her office on Wednesday. The deployment between the United States and Mexico at the request of the federal government will occur later this year. And this news comes 1 week after Noem announced that she would be sending up to 50 soldiers to the southern border for 30 to 60 days, paid for by a $1 million private donation from a Tennessee billionaire, right? And I just going to leave it right there. So she's going to send 120 troops to the border, to bolster protection from immigrants crossing the border, migrants crossing the border. But she also is sending 50 troops from the National Guard to the border who are paid for by a billionaire in Tennessee. Isn't that kind of fucked up, Mike? I mean, that say I'm a Microsoft billionaire, or I'm a billionaire from one of the tech startups in the Bay Area, right? And I'm I really want to throw my everything into conservative Republican politics. So what I'm going to do is give $1 million to the governor of South Dakota so she can afford to send 50 or 60 National Guardsmen to patrol the border to make America safe again. Right? That is fucked up.
Seems like that should be illegal. I mean, you can't just give somebody a pile of money and say, "Hey, I want the troops to go here," right?
Like mercenary armies for billionaires who get political favors from their cronies, right? It happens in different ways, in different shapes and forms. But I mean, that one is really, really clear. There was another story, Mike. The pharmaceutical company Johnson & Johnson, right? They're one of the COVID-19 manufacturers. Like, there's Moderna, Pfizer.
Yeah, they're the ones
Johnson.
that made the baby talc powder, which is now causing people cancer, right?
Yep, that's right. They knew for decades that baby powder was tainted with asbestos,
right?
And they kept that information from regulators. And then a study found out that people who used the baby powder caused cancer in rats. And 3 years ago, they had to pay out $4.7 billion to thousands of victims who developed cancer from using their products. Well, they were also involved in a lawsuit, Mike, about opioid epidemic. They were one of the companies that were making pharmaceutical opioids. And on Saturday, June 26th, and this is according to a website called medicaltyranny.com, which looks like a pretty good website. They're really critical about pharmaceutical companies. And they have to pay $260 million in a New York lawsuit that they settled out of court. And basically, the two of the largest counties, like on Long Island, that would be Nassau County and Suffolk County, and the state of New York filed a lawsuit against this company, and the company settled out of court for $230 million. This is part of an ongoing agreement that Johnson & Johnson agreed to, that they would pay $5 billion over time to settle opioid claims by states, cities, counties, and tribal governments across the country. And along with other U.S. drug distributors, people who actually distributed the drugs, they are going to pay a combined $26 billion payout to end thousands of opioid lawsuits. So this lawsuit that they settled out of court in June is just the beginning of this trend that we're going to be seeing over the next couple of years. And of course, whatever, there's all kind of other like legal details involved in other states that are filing suits as well. I did want to note, though, that I looked up how much money Johnson & Johnson made in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, right? And they've consistently made, in their revenue, over $80 billion of revenue a year. And they make like $50 billion in gross profits at the end of it all. So if you look at like the opioid crisis, which according to this article, it says the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has said that nearly 500,000 people died from opioid overdoses between 1999 and 2019. 20 years, 500,000 people died. And this pharmaceutical company only has to pay out $5 billion for 20 years of profits, where they're making $50 billion a year. This is a slap on the wrist, Mike. And this is what these companies do. It's like they'll acknowledge that they made a mistake after they've inflicted all of this harm on people. And then instead of, there's no way that you can address the suffering of 500,000 people's families and loved ones who died because of opioid overdose deaths, right? So they give them like a slap on the wrist, and then they have to pay a little fine, which is just like, what, 1/20th of their profits for the year, so they could make profits for 20 years selling opioid drugs to people. And I just want people to realize, other listeners, to realize how this works with these pharmaceutical companies. And especially since like CNN and MSNBC and the other corporate news outlets have really just been glorifying these pharmaceutical companies. New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. they've all been talking about how wonderful these pharmaceutical companies have been. But like you said, Mike, they knew that talc powder caused cancer, and they encouraged people to use their product even when they knew it was unsafe.
Even on babies, they encouraged people to use it when they knew it wasn't safe, when they knew it had asbestos in it.
Yeah, and they knew what the consequences of that were, and used it anyway. All right, last one I want to share with you, and this is from the independent news site in Portland called the Portland Mercury. It's very similar to the Seattle Stranger. And I thought that you might find this interesting, but the article says, it's from this morning, it says, comic book interview, Captain America is gay now. I don't know if you knew this. But no longer a creaky old symbol of America's imagined might, the United States of Captain America introduces a legion of local heroes across the country, each one heroes in their own communities. One Captain America is a homeless gay teen named Aaron Fisher. Another is a Filipino-American college student named Ari Agamiani. And another is a black woman named Michelle Wright. Rather than pretending that America is a blonde, chiseled jaw liberator, these captains reflect a multiplicity of backgrounds, values, and first-hand experiences of injustice. Opening the issue, the first image my eyes landed on was of Rosa Parks' dress next to Harvey Milk's bullhorn. And he goes on and interviews this person. So they've recreated Captain America as a gay man who is Aaron Fisher.
I don't care.
You sure you don't care, Mike?
It couldn't matter to me less. It couldn't matter to me less.
I know. So okay, the reason why I'm sharing this, right, is like, okay, I get it. Like, I think Captain America and this America great and all of that is bullshit, right? It's kind of fucked up on a certain level. So if you really were concerned about cultural diversity and people having different stories to tell and such, why would you try to co-opt a fucked up message to begin with? You know what I mean? Why would you try to make a gay Captain America instead of just acknowledge that Captain America is kind of a lost cause as far as trying to
they have a built-in
shape people's minds.
They have a built-in audience there to start with, and then on top of that, they're really not good at coming up with new ideas. So they get
they're horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So. And they have the built-in audience, which will now expand because of pandering to this group and that group and all the other groups. So.
Yeah, it's just fucked up. And of course, the original Captain America, Steve Rogers, was born on the Lower East Side of Manhattan to poor Irish immigrants, and then ended up becoming an experiment in some kind of weird medical experiment, and became a super soldier, to fight the Nazis in the 1940s. So he's always been an American fascist, but I just found that to be really very strange. And I didn't read the comments after it, but I'm sure a lot of the comments are going to be it's so cool that we reclaimed Captain America for the gay people in the United States.
Like I said, they get all this new audience. So, you know what I mean? It's they have a built-in audience, and now they're going to expand on that because, hey, you're part of this too, or you can be if you want.
Yeah, it's like the CIA recruiting videos recently. There were these CIA recruiting videos that came out in the last 2 months, and they're kind of appealing to people who have issues with their sexual identity, or people from multiple different cultural backgrounds, and explaining to people that anybody can join the CIA and help the project, to make America a great place. So they kind of pander, this identity politics, they can pander to identity politics, like you said, to kind of make it a bigger field, and we're all fighting for the good cause, trying to get the evil Russians.
Right. I hear you. That's what I'm saying too. So.
Yeah, fuck the Russians. So anyway, Oh yeah, DAB, D-A-B, of course, is a beer from Germany. It's pretty good. I remember having it as a teenager, where it comes in a big white can, and then you get like about, I don't know, you get like maybe 10 or 12 beers out of it. It stands for Dortmunder Acton Brewery, which is in Dortmund, Germany. DAB, D-A-B. It's a pretty good beer. So I'm glad that you're having a DAB Friday.
Yeah, I have a DAB every day.
All right, fair point. All right, I'm going to listen to the rest of the calls. It was great to hear the calls earlier. And Mike, be careful when you go out into your marijuana patch. Just remember, the rattlesnakes are going for the water. So wherever that water pump is, keep your eyes open and your ears peeled, because those fuckers are coming for your water. Just a heads up.
All right, talk to you later. Thanks for calling. Hope you have a good weekend.
Have a good night, Mike.
See ya.
Yeah, you too. Peace.
All right, so I have a video here about male fertility and the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine affecting male fertility, and that appears to be some of the misinformation that's going around, and they just wanted to correct that in this video, which I thought you might be interested in hearing. I'll be right back.
There's new COVID vaccine research with some important news for couples planning a baby. Medical reporter Liz Bonis shares the results of a new study on future fertility.
For months, many have expressed concerns about fertility and mRNA vaccines, mainly due to unsupported claims that circulate online. But this new study has some reassuring news when it comes to both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines and male fertility. The study looked at what researchers called sperm parameters before and after COVID-19 mRNA vaccination. They compared these values in healthy male volunteers ages 18 to 50 years old. They wanted to study this population because researchers in JAMA Network Open found those who said they were hesitant to get the vaccine said reproductive toxicity had not been evaluated in clinical trials. The conclusion, according to urologists at the Cleveland Clinic that provided this video:
the way these vaccines were developed and how they work using mRNA cannot affect the sperm production and do not affect the DNA of the sperm.
What's interesting, according to Dr. Neil Perrick, is that the preliminary studies, however, do show that the immune response, if you get the COVID-19 virus itself, may interfere with a man's ability to produce sperm for as much as 6 months. A separate study also found some men who have had COVID-19 struggle with erectile dysfunction after recovery. While this new male fertility study on sperm research is a small study, when it comes to the vaccine and men concerned about being a dad in the future,
the vaccine is safe and is the safest thing that you can do to protect your fertility.
Now, this, of course, one of the reasons getting vaccines into doctors' offices is so important, so you can ask providers questions about fertility or any other concerns as you weigh your own benefit versus risk. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonis. Now back to you.
I thought that was just a tiny bit longer than that. I apologize. All right, so I still don't have any donations to report, which means I'm gonna hold off on a dab for just a moment. Which video was that? Oh, right, the male fertility thing. I guess that's one of the things that people are talking about. It may be a side effect. So it's so nice of them to make sure and come out with a news report letting us know that we don't have to worry about that. Don't you think? Don't you think that's so nice of them? Okay, so I also have a video about COVID bats. It appears that one of the big museums in London, I believe, is giving scientists like 200 years collection of bats so they can look for origins of the COVID or something. I also have a video about how COVID is increasing the anti-Semitism in Europe. Because, you know, that's what the flu does. That's what it does, is it? Okay. So, and I have a video about the Haitian assassination. I really like that. Just really echoes in my brain. Like, somebody needs to make a song about that, I'm telling you. I'm sure they will. Can't be just me. Alright, so I have another video about vaccine booster shots. They're talking about a vaccine booster shot. They're talking about wanting to give you one 6 months after you already got the first 2 shots. Last night I played a video from Kennedy where they're talking about sending people door to door. The government is sending people door to door to see if everybody in your household has gotten the vaccine. And according to Kennedy, they're talking, the talking heads, the politicos, they're saying that, you know, mandatory vaccines are on the way. At least that's what she's saying. It looks like it's happening to her. That's what she's hearing in the media. And that is not going to turn out well for them. So, interesting times, right? I'm going to play another video since no one's calling. You all can see the video, the telephone number on the screen right there, right? Oh, wait, now that video runs out? Oh, man, all my video clips are just running out. What is the deal? Okay, so space tourism, Haitian assassination. Oh, U.S. warm games. The United States is provoking Russia. The United States is like, oh, Russia's to blame for the ransomware attacks, and saying that we may have to attack them back, which is just such a giant load of shit. Now they're running war games, like right in Russian neighborhood, like right off the coast of Russia, right? And it's just disgusting. I mean, imagine if Russia was running war games with Canada, right off the coast of Canada, or off the coast of BC, or Mexico, off the coast of Baja, or let's say Venezuela. How do you think the U.S. would respond to Russia running war games with Venezuela? Because I think that they would be fucking making things blow up. But that's the way the United States, the Pentagon, always responds. Again, the U.S. is doing their best to provoke Russia. And I think Russia is probably used to it by now, but I'm not. And I'm not, and I'm really tired of it. And you know, it's just this fake bullshit. Russia's the fault for everything. I keep telling you, Russia isn't the fault. China isn't the reason that our country is fucked up. The reason our country is fucked up is because of our government. China isn't a threat to our freedom. Russia isn't a threat to our freedom. Iran isn't a threat to our freedom. The only threat to our freedom is our ever-expanding comply or die police state. And I know that people recognize this. I know on both sides, you know, even in the center, especially in the center, people recognize the government is the problem. But they buy into this divide thing, you know. This, oh, well, this side is the good side. You already know the government's the problem. It's not one side of the government. It's the government. One of these days, we'll all get on the same page. I hope. That would be a cool day. I'm going to play a video about the cops that got busted, the Seattle police that got busted. No, I'm not going to play that one. I'm not going to play that one. No, I'm not. I'm going to play the one about the COVID bats in the museum because I kind of thought that was an interesting story. I thought maybe you would think it's interesting too.
Questions still remain about the origins of COVID-19. Museums in Europe are now searching their bat collections, hoping to find clues. CBS's Riley Carlson with how it could help prevent another pandemic.
In the archives of London's Natural History Museum, curators are digitizing and cataloging an extensive collection of bat specimens. These bats, some decades, even centuries old, are a huge untapped resource. Getting their information online is part of a Europe-wide push to provide insight into the potential origins of COVID-19.
We're sitting on a treasure trove of knowledge that is not fully exploited because it's not visible.
Data from 3 bat families known to carry coronaviruses will be made available to researchers all over the world. Many scientists believe COVID-19 may have originated in nature and jumped from animals to humans.
The more information that we have, not just about the virus, but about the species that may transmit the virus, I think it could be key in the interest of trying to understand how these events have happened.
Information like where and how they live, how they adapt, or how close they are to people.
Do you think that this information could potentially help predict when or maybe even where the next pandemic might break out?
This will be a first step that will help others.
A building block where knowledge is power and a first line of defense. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
I bet you that museum is getting paid so much money to do the work with the bats. I bet it's getting paid so much money. Oh my God. The COVID appeared naturally in nature. Okay. That's not what most people think at this point. I don't believe, I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. 100-year-old bats, man. Who knew? Who knew there were hundreds of years old bats? Amazing. So, I guess I'll play another video. I don't really have anything to say about hundreds. Like I said, I bet you they're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars for that, for the bat stuff. Which, I'm glad to see money go to Natural History Museum. That's awesome. I can't stand the pain. All right, so I'm gonna play this clip about the war games off the coast of Russia, and so you can see that America, the United States, the Pentagon is doing everything in their power to provoke Russia. The fucking constant. Russia interfered with our elections. Facebook interfered with our elections. Twitter interfered with our elections. Russia, we interfere with Russian elections all the time. Oh, Russia this, Russia that. Now, again, this being a way that they're provoking Russia, and now they're having war games off the coast of Russia. And if Russia was doing that with Venezuela, I guarantee you, the United States would be having a fucking hissy fit. I'm sorry, piece of shit Pentagon would be having a hissy fit.
War games involving the US, Ukraine and 30 other countries are wrapping up in the Black Sea. Exercise Sea Breeze was held despite strong objections from Russia. These largest manoeuvres in decades have been taking place around the waters of Crimea, which Russia annexed from Ukraine in 2014. Kiev wants to join the NATO alliance and will host more exercises with the US, Poland and Lithuania later this month. DW correspondent Nick Connolly has spent the last 3 days on board a US Navy destroyer taking part in Sea Breeze. He joins us from the port city of Odessa on the Black Sea in Ukraine. Welcome, Nick. So what have you witnessed aboard the USS Ross?
Well, Phil, those were 3 days in which basically the Russians were never more than a few miles away, either with their ships or their planes. At times it felt as if there were as many Russians out on the water in the part of the Black Sea we were in international waters, as there were Americans, Ukrainians and other nations taking part in Sea Breeze. I think the most extraordinary thing about all of this was that our American hosts were very keen to talk about the operational side of things, how they practice whatever skill with their Ukrainian counterparts, but they were incredibly nervous about talking about the Russians, those same Russians who were only a couple of miles from the boat I was on, seemingly very careful not to be accused of warmongering, trying to tone things down and to be seen to be focusing on the task in hand. So it was kind of a bizarre situation for a group of journalists trying to find out why these exercises are needed, who they are basically aimed at, or what kind of situation, what kind of potential opponent these are aimed at, and being told time and time again that these are just exercises in international waters and that anyone is able to go into those international waters without any particular target. So it was a strange time, but an interesting one.
Just business as normal. How close did you come to Crimea?
So that was obviously the big question. In recent weeks, we'd seen the British warship Defender passing a bit closer to Crimea, something that basically provoked a diplomatic spat between Moscow and London. I think on the back of that, the organisers of this exercise decided to keep further away, but you didn't need to be close to Crimea to have those Russian ships in very close proximity, those flights going over every day. They were also paying a lot of attention to what was going on in this exercise, and it's obviously not unexpected given the tensions we've had in the last few months. Russia and the West at loggerheads over Ukraine, Russia building up huge forces on Ukraine's borders. So that was the backdrop to these exercises, and as expected, the Russians were showing that they were definitely not happy about having American equipment out in the Black Sea, anywhere near Crimea or Russia for that matter.
Sea Breeze is held regularly, but this was the biggest one yet. What is the purpose of these drills?
Well, on paper, it's about learning skills, about interoperability between American forces and Ukrainians and other allied nations. But obviously, this is a political gesture after those tensions in recent months. It's about showing that the West hasn't forgotten about Ukraine 7 years after Crimea was annexed, after all those tensions on Ukraine's borders and Russia keeping that pressure high on Ukraine. But it's difficult to see really what Ukraine can expect in terms of support. I mean, these ships are going to go home in the next few weeks, and there's no NATO membership perspective for Ukraine on the cards anytime soon, no kind of formal security guarantees. So there's definitely lots of reasons for the Ukrainians to stay worried about their country's security, even if we've seen the biggest exercises in recent years. That's still only 5,000 personnel, which is significantly less than the war games that Russia carries out in this region, which involve tens of thousands of people. So a small symbol of support, but nothing that really changes the balance of power in this part of the world.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. DW correspondent Nick Connolly in Odessa.
That one cut off short. Okay, so let's see. Again, what I see happening is this. Why is the United States endlessly provoking Russia? Okay, I don't believe for a second that the ransomware attacks are coming from Russia. I don't believe that the Russians interfered with our elections no more than any other time in history. I know that Facebook interfered in our elections a whole lot more than Russia did. I know that Twitter interfered in our elections a whole lot more than Russia did. So nobody's talking about that. Russia. It's not. The problem isn't Russia. I actually have a video on here saying, it's not Russia. If you type "it's not Russia," I did a monologue about it not being Russia. The problem isn't Russia, and it's probably like 3 years old or 4 years old. It's not. It's not Russia. And it's weird because right after that, RT gave me like 1 or 2 copyright strikes, and I immediately wrote them back, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck is going on. I just made a video saying it's not the Russians, it's not the Russians, it's not the Russians. Here's the link. What? And this is how you repay me? And they immediately took the copyright strikes off, which was nice. But they also told me not to post their shit no more. And I was like, fuck Russia. You know, I don't understand it, right? The RT, Russia Today, they have an agenda, just like our news channels have an agenda. So I post their videos, you know, helping more eyes see their videos, and you know, which you would expect would further their agenda, and then they like, oh, we can't have that. You know, I kind of understand why Fox News came after me multiple times, really hard, because they don't like my titles. They don't like the way that I point out stuff just in the title of the video, that what's happening in this video, you know, and they hate that. They hate me using their propaganda to open people's eyes, and I did it for a long time, and I was one of the best at it. So, yeah, I'm sure they remember me well. All right, I'm gonna play another video because no one's calling. I will play a video about not that. And we have to stop provoking Russia, and we have to stop provoking China, okay? Because both of them have the ability to fuck with America, to fuck with the United States, just like Iran. Iran has so incredibly much ability to fuck with the United States. Number one, you'll never win a war with Iraq. We didn't win one in Iraq. We didn't win one in Afghanistan. Iran has a real fucking army. So we couldn't beat Iraq. We couldn't beat Afghanistan, which is people living in caves and mud huts. We couldn't beat that with the only superpower in the world. And somehow we think we're going to beat a real military, which is Iran, not without nuclear weapons. Which conveniently Israel happens to have, right? So they could have a nuclear weapon go off, but nobody knows that Israel has nuclear weapons, right? Nobody knows that. So nuclear weapon could hit Iran, and then it'd be like, oh, it's America's fault. We don't have nuclear weapons. How could we do that? Got some fucked up shit going on, people. I'm going to play a video about, where's that one? Oh, COVID-19 growing the anti-Semitism in Europe. So the COVID-19 is increasing anti-Semitism in Europe. It couldn't be anything else. It's got to be the COVID-19. I'll play that video for you now.
Coronavirus lockdowns and COVID conspiracies are being blamed for a rise in anti-Semitism in Europe. But that's not all that's fueling violence against Jewish communities. CNN's Melissa Bell reports.
Eli Rosen knows all about where hate can lead. His grandparents survived the Holocaust. They always warned him to keep his head down because there might be more to come. Last August, they were proved right. Rosen was targeted along with his synagogue in the Austrian city of Graz. Its walls, made from the bricks of the synagogue destroyed in 1938, defaced.
After this attack, those warnings of my grandparents had kind of flashback. And this made me very, very sorry and brought tears into my heart and my face.
A few days later, just outside the synagogue, Rosen was chased by a man wielding a baseball bat, but managed to get back into his car just in time.
Certainly I was scared. Being physically attacked is a dimension that's different than being verbal attacked, which I'm used to because anti-Semitism has risen within the last year.
In 2020, anti-Semitic incidents in Austria reached their highest level since the country began keeping records 19 years ago. And in Germany, incidents rose as much as 30%, according to a German watchdog. Much of the rise in both countries is being blamed on harsh COVID-19 lockdown restrictions. Protesters demonstrating against the restrictions held signs depicting forced vaccination by Jews, and 2 people in Berlin were shouted at by a man who they believed blamed Jews for the pandemic.
I think that anti-Semitic conspiracy myths have been there for centuries, and in fact, whenever there is a pandemic, they have come to the fore again.
Across Europe, anti-Semitic attacks have been rising for years. From a deadly standoff in 2015 at a kosher supermarket in Paris, to Vienna, where 4 people were killed in a rampage outside the Stadttempel synagogue last year. And then there is the desecration of Jewish graves, like these in eastern France. In Brussels, Rabbi Albert Guigui now wears a baseball cap when he goes out to hide his very identity. Of course I wear a yarmulke at home, he says, but outside I prefer to cover my head less conspicuously. It's not healthy, he explains, to live in an atmosphere of fear and where you feel hunted. I think that as well as being vigilant, we must tackle the evil at the root of the problem, and that is about being different. The Holocaust killed an estimated 6 million Jews in Europe, but as living memory gives way to fading footage, so denial grows and hate speech returns. As well as the tension around COVID lockdowns, the violence between Israel and Hamas in the Middle East in May also drove hate towards Jews across Europe. Like here in Berlin, or in Brussels, where the chants spoke of ancient battles between Jews and Muslims.
We do see a cyclical increase in expressions of anti-Semitism and also anti-Semitic violence linked to events in the Middle East. But if we look more broadly at the phenomenon of anti-Semitism in Europe, we see that it's much older and also much wider. And it's really a European issue.
The hate is also spreading online, according to Human Rights Watch. Horrific cartoons like this one, depicting Jews with a big hook nose. Or this one in France of a conspiracy theory blaming Jews for the pandemic and shared, he says mistakenly, by a candidate in recent regional elections. The European Commission has a deal with tech companies to remove offensive content within 24 hours, but only once it's been alerted.
This is the memorial in the very heart of Vienna to the 65,000 Austrian Jews who were deported during World War II. Most did not survive. It's a reminder of where words and conspiracy theories can lead, but it's also a reminder of Europe's own very violent, homegrown history of anti-Semitism, an anti-Semitism that has never quite disappeared.
Prayers continue to be heard all over Europe. From the center of Paris to the old Stadttempel synagogue in Vienna. Eli Rosen says that his grandparents' approach of keeping a low profile after the Holocaust was understandable, but ultimately misguided. European Jews keeping their heads down, he says, has not prevented anti-Semitism from rearing its head once again.
Contrary to my grandparents, I will tell my son, or I would tell young Jewish people to be proud of being Jewish.
Melissa Bell, CNN, Vienna.
Okay, so I don't know what to say about that. It's better probably just to move on, except for I COVID-19. COVID-19. Yeah. All right. If that's what they say. I have a couple more videos I'm going to play for you, but I'm going to move quickly through them because I'm getting hungry and no one's calling and I don't want to sit here and jabber on because this really isn't about me. It's about us having a conversation. It's about you getting you being involved in what's going on. So I don't mind doing monologues a little bit, obviously, but I don't want to. I don't want to just keep going on. Plus, I'm hungry. So I'm going to play another video since no one's calling. This one is about a vaccine booster shot, which many people seem to be suggesting is what we need next. Not the FDA, not the CDC, but the pharmaceutical companies think it's a pretty good idea.
Now at noon, COVID remains a threat across parts of the U.S. Now there are growing worries about how long the vaccines remain effective. Pfizer says it wants to introduce a booster dose. Cairo 7's Skylar Henry explains why the FDA is not convinced.
Pfizer's 2-dose vaccine has protected millions of Americans from COVID-19. Now the company says a 3rd dose could dramatically boost immunity. That announcement came after a study in Israel found the vaccine becomes less effective over time.
What they are seeing is a small number of people who are elderly who got the vaccine early on in January are having some mild symptoms, period. So it's not clear we need a booster, but it is clear that a booster will dramatically increase immunity.
The Food and Drug Administration, together with the CDC, responded to Pfizer's announcement within hours, saying fully vaccinated Americans do not need a booster at this time. Dr. David Agus says it's the unvaccinated population that remains most at risk.
99.7% of hospitalizations of COVID-19 patients in the United States now are unvaccinated.
Pfizer says it'll ask the FDA to grant emergency use authorization for a 3rd dose later this summer, and that it could make the vaccine 5 to 10 times more effective. But health agencies say a booster will be approved only if and when science shows it's needed. The powerful Delta variant is now the dominant strain in the U.S., driving up to 80% of new infections in part of the Midwest that remain under-vaccinated.
The time for watching to see what's going to happen it's over. If you're really serious about protecting yourself and protecting your family, it's time to get vaccinated now.
The latest research shows that the full dosage of current vaccines offers strong protection even against that Delta variant. Skylar Henry, Cairo 7 News.
This morning, COVID vaccine maker Pfizer saying it is time for a booster shot. But the CDC and FDA are saying not so fast. KOMO's Denise Whitaker explains.
Talk of a booster shot for the COVID-19 vaccines, nothing new. But now that Pfizer says it's getting ready to ask for authorization for one, the FDA and the CDC say, wait a minute, not so fast. Pfizer and BioNTech say they're collecting final data on their 3rd shot, planning to take it to the FDA next month.
The that Pfizer's developing appears to raise neutralizing antibodies, and it increases it by about 5 or 10 times the original vaccine series.
Within hours of Pfizer's announcement, the CDC and FDA releasing a joint statement saying Americans who have been fully vaccinated do not need a booster shot at this time. The agency continuing to urge more Americans to get vaccinated.
Right, so Americans who are fully vaccinated do not need a booster shot at this time. Americans who are fully vaccinated do not need a booster shot at this time. Shit's gonna go on forever, dude. Dudes and dudettes. Gotta do something about this out of control fucking crap of a government. I'm going to play. In fact, I'm going to play a video now about a Haitian assassination. Don't know why that clicks in my brain so weird. I'm going to play that video, and then I'm going to play another video because I don't have any phone callers to talk to. So I'll be right back.
First, so Colombia says it will send an intelligence mission to Haiti to help investigate the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse. Haitian police claim they've captured 17 suspects and killed several others. Amongst those arrested, a Colombian ex-military and 2 dual US-Haitian citizens whose motives remain unclear. Authorities are still searching for more members of the alleged hit squad.
The pursuit for Haiti's assassins is on.
Many are shocked and wonder how President Jovenel Moïse, normally under tight security, could be killed in the middle of the night. It's true that he was no good for the Haitian people. It's true that he never listened, but nobody is happy at the way he died. Several of the suspects are now in police custody. Passports and guns have been confiscated. At least 6 of them appear to be ex-soldiers of the Colombian army, according to Colombian officials. Angry Haitians are gathering outside the police station and smashing suspects' cars. Police are now cautioning against vigilantism. These people that we have found, we have an obligation to protect them. We cannot take justice into our own hands. Interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph has declared a state of emergency and stepped up to lead the country until new elections can be held. But his legitimacy is being challenged by a rival candidate, Ariel Henry. Just a day before Moïse was killed, Henry was named new prime minister, but he has not yet been sworn in. Fears are growing that a fight over the president's seat may create a power vacuum, unleashing further instability.
Well, Professor Gunther Mayholt is from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. We asked him what the opposition is doing to establish democratic institutions.
It is fractured, it is incapable to form a national consensus, and this opposition is also characterized by criminal interest, family groupings, personal power aspirations. So the national dimension to form a way out of this situation is very difficult to imagine, and in some way international actors such as the United Nations, US or France are hesitant to take up this challenge because they know about the difficulties to come to terms with a country and a situation which is losing the rest of governance it had in the recent years.
So there's a lot of weird things going on with that. Chris from Olympia yesterday was discussing that the attack force, the people who made the assassination happen, I think it was at the presidential palace, I'm not sure. The people who did the hit were originally identified as DEA agents from the United States, and we haven't heard a whole lot of that since then. I know at least one U.S. citizen was arrested in the hit squad, or the people that are saying that they're associated with the assassination. So we'll see. I doubt we'll see much more about it, honestly, but hopefully. And I still don't have any phone callers, so I have more videos to play. Because I come prepared. Actually, I have 2 more videos to play. I'm going to go ahead and just play them because that's what I do. So I have video about the cops again, that were the Seattle cops that were busted, not busted, but identified as taking part in the January 6th insurrection, or as I like to call it, protest. The January 6th protest, police officers involved, Seattle police officers, at least 6 of them have been identified. Right now, they're saying only 2 of them are going to be penalized, and the police chief will decide what kind of penalty they will receive, although people are saying they need to be fired. One of the things I keep bringing up is if there was 6 police officers just from the Seattle Police Department, how many police officers were there on that day from all around the country. Just 6 alone from the Seattle Police Department. So I'm going to play that video for you quickly. It's not that long. I'll be back just a minute.
Thank you. Seattle's police watchdog recommends 2 officers be fired for violating department policy while people stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. The Office of Police Accountability determined those 2 officers broke trespassing laws at the Capitol during the insurrection. KIRO 7's Graham Johnson explains what investigators learned about the other 2 officers that made them stand out.
Investigators say 2 of the Seattle police officers followed the crowd to the U.S. Capitol and stood smiling as people nearby stormed it. Days after the January 6th insurrection, Seattle's Office of Police Accountability began investigating SPD officers who were in Washington, D.C. when rioters stormed the Capitol. OPA Director Andrew Meyerberg says investigators confirmed 2 officers trespassed onto the Capitol grounds and were caught on camera smiling as people nearby climbed onto scaffolding and scaled the wall.
We found that going into that restricted area, being right next to the Capitol while a law enforcement officer, while observing what was going on, was so problematic and so kind of antithetical to your role as a police officer.
Meyerberg said while the 2 officers did not enter the building, a photo provided by the FBI showed they were a lot closer than they first suggested to interviewers when they claimed they didn't know what was happening around them. You don't buy that?
No, I don't buy that.
The case against the 2 officers comes down to a single photo that Meyerberg says he won't release until the disciplinary process is done. Meyerberg and police commanders recommend the officers be fired for violating the law and SPD policy, but Police Chief Adrian Diaz will make that decision.
They should be fired.
Reverend Harriet Walden leads Mothers for Police Accountability and says the presence of Seattle officers at President Trump's rally says a lot about our times.
It says the deep problem that we have in America, a deep divide in this around race.
OPA investigators went to D.C. and tracked down hotel and bank records to verify 3 other officers who attended the Trump rally left before the assault on the Capitol. The investigation cleared them of wrongdoing.
They have an unfettered right to assemble politically.
A 6th SPD officer also attended President Trump's rally, but OPA investigators were not able to figure out what he did after that. Previously, Police Chief Adrian Diaz had committed to firing any officers who were involved in the insurrection. Today, his office released a statement saying they will follow due process and the chief will announce his disciplinary decision within 30 days. In Seattle, Graham Johnson, KIRO 7 News.
Interim Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz has 30 days to decide whether to follow the recommendation of the Office of Police Accountability and fire 2 officers for their actions during the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. 6 Seattle police officers admitted attending the Stop the Steal rally. 2 of them were suspended for not reporting it to superiors. The FBI providing a photograph to the OPA that we can't share with you that shows the pair standing next to the Capitol as the riot was taking place.
But if you're a law enforcement officer and you're right next to the wall of the Capitol and you see people scaling the walls and climbing the scaffolding, you either knew or you should have known that you were in a restricted area and that you were trespassing.
The officers told OPA investigators they didn't see anything unlawful going on and were just observers. The police union president says the case has glaring holes and that neither the FBI nor the Capitol Police have charged the officers with a crime. The ultimate decision will fall on the shoulders of interim Seattle Police Chief Diaz. He told us earlier this year he would fire any officer who took part in the insurrection, but any officer has a chance to file a grievance. If so, the matter would head to arbitration.
They didn't see any illegal activities taking place around them. Well, I guess that means they didn't see the cops getting beaten with a stick and everything else people could find. Again, if the cops just got out of their way, the people would have marched in there and it would have been fine. They weren't there to fight. The problem is the cops were there to fight. So, and the shitty fucking government we have, the House of Representatives, oh, they all feared for their lives so much. Fuck you all. You know what? The problem is they fear for their lives every single day, regardless if somebody's marching up the steps of the Capitol or not. You know why? Because they get threats every single day. You know why? Because that's what happens when you're a public figure. Anybody who's been recognized by any amount of people knows that that's what happens. You get death threats. Okay? And now they're like, oh my God, everybody's so victimized, you know? I remember getting death threats, and it was just like, I don't know. I think everything's funny. But I remember it was when I was making TV, and very, very, very watched show, and I was getting death threats, and the television station was saying that I'm not going to be able to make TV anymore. They were looking for any excuse. They were saying I'm not going to be able to make TV anymore because me receiving death threats puts all the people that employed at that television station in jeopardy because I'm getting death threats again. And I guarantee you the manager of that television station got a lot of death threats. In fact, I went through, I think, six or 8 television managers of that TV station, and I guarantee you all of them got death threats. Again, it's just what happens when you're in the public's eye. So these people who want to act like so victimized, like I'm so scared right now. Have you ever heard the saying, you know, if the heat is too hot in the kitchen, get the fuck out of the kitchen. You know, I don't think that's exactly the way the saying goes, but something like that. The heat is too hot in the kitchen, get the fuck out of the kitchen, you know? Because I never thought the heat was too hot for me. That's just me. Alright, I have one more video left for you. It's about Hunter Biden. I thought you might enjoy it. It's about Hunter Biden. He's now become an artist, a painter, and his paintings are being sold for exorbitant amounts of money, and the art community is saying it makes no sense that his paintings are being sold for this exorbitant amount of money, unless of course there's some kind of political shenanigans going on. So I thought you would be very interested in that video, because we all know the people who really you know, Russia interfered in our election. The people who really interfered in our election is Facebook and Twitter by covering up what a piece of shit Hunter Biden was during, you know, Joe Biden's son, covering up what a piece of shit Joe Biden's son is, all during the election process. If you said anything about Hunter Biden's laptop, you got your page deleted. Because again, which was a real thing, Hunter Biden's laptop, that's a completely real story, and them deleting it, them not allowing this information to be spread, makes them interfering in our election, makes them obviously have bias in our election, and you know, platforms like that. I mean, how dare we say Russia's interfering in our election when it's obvious that, you know, these people, Zuckerberg and Google and all these people are interfering in our elections. And again, that's a national security threat. And I think that you know, we should do so. Whenever there's a national security threat, they're like, oh my God, it's a national. Obviously, Facebook and Google, and they keep wanting to go, well, Russia interfering with our election is a national security threat. So you would think Facebook interfering with our election is a national security threat. Google interfering with our election, which we know they did, is a national security threat. Twitter interfering with our election is a national security threat. And I'm not talking about people sending out tweets or posting Facebook posts. That's not the national security threat. Censorship is the national security. Twitter censorship, Facebook censorship, Google censorship. And I've talked about this a lot. Censorship is a threat to all of us. In fact, that's what my TV show was all about. Censorship is a threat to all of us, because the only way this species evolves to the next evolution, the next level, is through the free sharing of information. It's about us talking about all these things out and figuring out anybody who's censoring, the free exchange of information. Anyone who's doing that is a threat to all humanity, let alone a national security threat when we know that they're interfering in our elections. So fuck Google, fuck Facebook, and fuck Twitter. And I hope Donald Trump wins a bunch. I don't like Donald Trump, but I hope he hurts them. I hope he takes away what they think is this God mode where they can shadow ban anybody. We have 100,000 subscribers plus on this channel, and we can only get 14 people to show up for a live show. That's Google fucking with whatever they want to fuck with, and that's wrong. So I take this very personally. Okay, so here's Hunter Biden. Don't forget, Facebook, Twitter, and Google all fucked with our election, and that makes them a national security threat.
Thanks very much. The White House also facing ethics concerns tonight over an upcoming sale of paintings by President Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Some very pricey paintings. CNN's Sunlen Serfati reports.
These paintings by President Biden's son, Hunter, are sparking ethics concerns for the White House. Hunter's artwork is set to be displayed and sold this fall at private and invite-only showings in Los Angeles and New York City, priced between $75,000 to $500,000 per piece. Some ethics experts are crying foul.
It just is implausible that this art from an unknown artist would be selling at this price if it didn't have the Biden name attached to it. The cachet that comes with buying this art is getting to say that you own art created by the president's son.
And some art critics agree.
That, I would say, for a first-time artist is a little bit out of scale with normal pricing. They're fairly generic paintings, they're maybe technically skilled in a certain way, but they don't really have any oomph behind them or life behind them.
Sources tell CNN the White House has been involved in forming a deal between a Soho, New York gallery owner, George Burgess, and Hunter Biden to attempt to address any ethics concerns. Two sources familiar with the arrangement say neither Hunter Biden or the administration will have any knowledge of who has bid or purchased the artwork. It will be kept anonymous. And if there is any unusual behavior, like the offer price is too high, the gallery is expected to turn down the offer.
The right answer here would have been to agree publicly to disclose the names of these purchasers. The public could, in that case, have tracked whether or not these buyers were getting preferential access in return for paying outrageous amounts.
At the start of his administration, President Biden vowed to avoid even the perception of conflicts of interest.
Here's how I look at it. I said, the foul line is 15 feet away from the basket. Never get me closer than 17 feet, because it really is a matter of the public trust.
Today, the White House responded to questions over the sale of Hunter's art.
After careful consideration, a system has been established that allows for Hunter Biden to work in his profession within reasonable safeguards. I think it would be challenging for an anonymous person who we don't know and Hunter Biden doesn't know to have influence. So that's a protection.
On the gallery website, Hunter's biography does not mention that he is the son of the president, instead detailing his art style and describing him as someone who has devoted his artistic career to the visual arts. In the past, Hunter has been open with his battle with drug addiction and has suggested that art helps, telling the New York Times that painting puts my energy towards something positive. It keeps me away from people and places where I shouldn't be. This isn't the first time family members of presidents blurred ethical lines.
Billy Beer.
In the 70s, President Jimmy Carter's brother Billy promoted Billy Beer.
The man who used to be known as First Brother, as we all recall, started manufacturing the beer back in the 70s.
And more recently, the Trump family. While former President Donald Trump was in office, Ivanka Trump received more than a dozen patents from China, while the U.S. was negotiating a trade deal with China. Sunling Sarfati, CNN, Washington.
Okay, so again, the Bidens are clearly completely corrupt, and I don't know why they don't just give this guy a bunch of money and let him go off into obscurity, because he's a problem. And at the same time, clearly Joe President Biden, I think that's the first time I ever said those words, kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Biden, you know, his son, he knows that he's a fucking crook. He knows that he's a shyster. And he's not doing anything about it. He's allowing him to do this, corrupt, it's just bullshit. You know, and I'm just so tired of these people. Oh man, why can't we get some fresh people in here? Why do we have to have these damn dinosaurs that act like somehow they're going to do something to change the world? Joe Biden's been in a position to change the world for 44 years, and he never once made it a better place. So, I don't know. I just, we deserve better. One of these days, I really hope that you all get better. You deserve better. Your kids deserve better. And I just despise all these people in our government. Every single one of them. I want them to go to prison so bad. Alright, that's all the videos. I played them all. Look, I played them all. See? All of them. So, which means we don't have any phone callers, and I'm going to go get some food. So, thanks so much for tuning in. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which means we'll be back on Monday, same Mox time, same Mox channel. And until then, stay cool, because one of these days this war is going to end. Stay cool till then.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.
Sometimes life can be a little
overwhelming. Sometimes the weight of the world can be too much to bear. Sometimes you need to stop worrying and take a deep breath. Sometimes you need cannabis. Introducing Brightside, high-quality cannabis delivered right to your door. Brightside offers an extensive menu of strains and products to meet your needs. Choose the experience you want, and we'll send you the dankest herb, the real sticky icky, some top-shelf marijuana. If you like what we send you, keep the whole jar. We'll even include some nugs for you to blaze. As part of Discovery, you'll get to try new strains and products. Side effects may include euphoria, increased appetite, uncontrollable giggles, elevated sensitivity to musical dopeness, and reduced anxiety. Tetrahydrocannabinol may also induce feelings of existential well-being and relentless optimism. With a Brightside subscription, you can get it once a month, once a week, or whenever you want, all at a price you'll like. And yes, this is a real company.
Do you know who I am?
You're the wizard.
Ask your doctor if cannabis is right for you. It probably is. Keep it Brightside.
I mean, this coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. I wish the coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits.